Hi, I'm Pastor Stephanie Lape. I serve at Cross and Crown Lutheran Church in Rancho Cucamonga, California, but I'm coming to you from my home as we are all in quarantine these days. I've been talking about things that you can do with people that are suffering, things that are helpful. Now, as I've said before, we're not called to fix anybody, save anybody, rescue anybody. We're only called to just accompany people in their pain, and it could be something small or it could be something very large. There are not things that are foolproof, but things that are maybe best practices for accompanying people in emotional distress. The first thing I said to do was just listen, give some time to the person to explain what they're going through. The second thing that I said to do was express empathy with their emotions or for their emotions. It's not always easy to do this. I naturally understand people and their pain and their suffering and their emotions like 95% of the time. But there's that 5% of the time where it's very hard to relate. I mean, as an extreme example, somebody could say, I'm really scared because I believe aliens are going to abduct me right now. And, that might not be my belief. And so it might be harder for me to understand. Nevertheless, give people time to explain their emotional world, what's behind their pain, their suffering, and tell them that, you're really sorry that they're feeling very afraid, even if you wouldn't feel afraid in that kind of situation. Hope that makes sense. Okay, the third part of this, you might get to and you might not get to. This third part is really important. It's really awesome, but it's optional because this third part has to do with helping people see some kind of new life that God might be bringing to them. Let me give you an example. Jesus, in the Bible, when he met with people that were suffering, he did listen to them. He had to understand what they were even feeling or thinking. I mean, people would talk to them about their distress. He would listen to them, and then he would show that he understood, that he cared about them. He understood that somebody was blind, or that somebody had leprosy, or that somebody, the woman that was she was going to be stoned. She didn't, but she's going to be stoned to death because she was caught in adultery. So he understood their pain. But here's the key thing about Jesus, and I'm aware that we're not God or anything, but this is an incredible model. He did not just feel empathy for their pain. He did not just say, for instance, to somebody who had leprosy, I'm so sorry you have leprosy. That's got to be really awful. That's got to be really sad. That's got to make you feel very isolated and cut off from community. I mean, he could have gone on and on and on with empathy, and he didn't. Here's the thing. He had a different vision of them. He saw them in a different light. He saw the person that had leprosy as not just defined by that identity, that this is a leper from now until the end of time. He saw that person as healed. He saw that person as whole. And because of his vision, he could help bring about healing and wholeness. See the difference? Now, sometimes people aren't ready to see this kind of vision of new life. Like, for instance, when my dad died, all I needed to do for a while was just grieve. And those friends who were there for me who said, I'm so sorry your dad died. That's the worst thing. And you've got to feel so much pain. You've got to really miss him. They were super helpful for me. It wouldn't have been helpful to hear people say, well, he's in a better place and, you got to get on with your life. And it's just not helpful. It just feels like people don't get you, they don't understand, they're not empathetic, and they're not safe for you to really open up to and say your true feelings. So when you talk to some people in pain, they might not at all be ready to hear any kind of positivity from you. So just leave it. Just forget it. You don't need to do that. You can forever say, I'm just so sorry. And that can be the end. So just those two parts of the conversation are enough. Just listening and expressing empathy. However, there will be those other people who might be ready to hear something else, something about new life, something better. For instance, I told you in my last video that my house had some flooding. Now, obviously, flooding is not nearly as much of a trauma as losing a dad to death. Okay, so this is a less traumatic kind of thing. So when I was first going through this flooding thing, I was just so frustrated, and I told my brother and sister about it, and they were like, "Oh man, that's horrible. I'm so sorry." Okay, so that was great. But eventually they could say, after expressing empathy, you don't want to bypass that part. But after that, they could say, and I could hear, you know what, I bet that your insurance company will really help. I bet that if you got the right equipment, things will be better. I bet that there's going to be a turnaround in this. See how they're helping me see a new vision? When I broke my leg a while ago and I was on crutches, people were saying, "I'm so sorry, that's horrible." They listened to my story of how I broke my leg, and then they told me, they're so sorry about that, and that must be really frustrating and, sad or whatever it was. But then they also said, "You know what, I bet that with physical therapy, things are going to be okay, and you're going to feel better again, and your leg will heal." Now, that did not feel like they didn't understand my plight. It would have if they had gone directly to, "I bet you're going to be fine soon." But they didn't. They said, "Gosh, I'm so sorry. That's horrible." And all the empathy. But then, "You know what? I bet you're going to be okay." Now, here's how this is really, really powerful. If somebody is going through suffering, and if you are a Christian person, then here's how you can do these three things. You can listen to their suffering, even if they're sick, even if they're, going through major loss, divorce, or grieving, or whatever they're going through, job loss, something like that. You can listen to their story of what they're going through and really, really listen. You could express empathy, but they might be in a kind of place where they're ready for prayer. If they hint this at all, that's a great time to say, "Yeah, what can I pray for you?" And they're not going to say, "Just pray that this doesn't just continually be horrible." They probably will say, "Pray for," and they're going to say what they want. So, say for instance, if I'm really sick, "Can you guys please pray for me to get better?" Okay, there's the key. I'm not just thinking of the illness. I'm thinking of what I want. And what I want is health. What I want is to get better. What I want is new life. So then I can say, "I am so sorry you're going through this, and I am going to ask God for healing for you, for strength for you, for love and light to surround you." Do you hear how I'm not just expressing how horrible it is, but I'm expressing something better for them? It turns their mind toward what God can do for them. It turns them to new life. It expresses our hope that things can get better, that things can improve. If you lose a job, that you're not going to be jobless forever. If you're sick, you're not going to be sick forever. If you're grieving, you're not going to grieve forever. When you say to somebody, "I will pray for new life for you," and you can get specific about what exactly that means. So again, let me emphasize, not everybody's ready to hear this. Even if you're ready to say it, they might not be ready to hear it. Sometimes people just want a listening ear or someone to be empathetic to their pain. But sometimes, and use your intuition, and you might be wrong some of the time, this is not an exact science, but use your intuition and they might be ready for you to say, "I'm going to pray for you that God brings you hope and healing and restoration out of this." And so you're not just staying in despair. You're helping move their thoughts to new life, and you're praying as you're doing it. It's really powerful when this can happen. Even when my dad died, not immediately, but eventually, people said things like, "I'm so sorry you missed your dad so much, and I hope and pray that you still feel his presence around you." That gave me so much hope. That gave me a sense of like, yeah, life's not all just suffering and loss. But yeah, my dad's spirit is around me, and maybe I can look for that and pay attention to that. So this takes a little bit of intuition, knowing if somebody's ready, and it helps them meditate on some really beautiful, good things. I hope this helps you as you encounter people that are in pain yourself, which you certainly have and will. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or comments about this. Please subscribe to our channel if you have not yet. And tomorrow I'll talk to you about putting up some boundaries for yourself so that you can be with people in pain, but you won't take it in. You won't make it yours. Some really good techniques that are extremely helpful for walking alongside people that are suffering. Take care. I keep you all in my prayers. Bye-bye.